So now that we have our reference points and everything ready to go, we're going to begin to develop the right-of-way information. And the right-of-way has several curves at the intersection that we're going to consider. But what I want to do first is go ahead and get rid of the all points point group and replace that with control. So I'm going to just go back over here, properties. I'm going to put control to the top and all points to the bottom, because we're going to have that showing up later. Okay, so we're going to offset these different alignments, and we have 40-foot distance given to us, which could represent pavement, it could represent right-of-way, whatever. It's just, for this example, it really doesn't matter too much. I'm just going to use the normal AutoCAD offset command, typing in O, and I'm going to give it a distance of 20, and I'm going to select the alignment, show it the side, select the alignment, show it the side, and since they're both the same spec, I can do it to both sides. And when I'm done, I can hit enter. So there you have it, and remember these are polylines, which is nice. There's good things and bad things about polylines, but in this case it'll be a good thing. Now, if you focus in on your picture diagram 2, you'll see that we do have curves, like representing curve returns coming in. We have one here in the southwest corner, southeast, northeast, northwest. They're sharing different radius values, but they're also linking in from curve to tangent, and then here we have from a tangent to curve. What we have actually building in here are compound curves, and we also have some reverse curves developing. So there's a couple different ways we can handle compound reverse curves. One of the easiest in a case like this is probably using the AutoCAD fillet command and let it do a lot of its work, and you don't have to do as much. Civil 3D also has some really good routines that will do compound and reverse curves, and if we go over here to the draw section, look here, we have multiple curves which will generate compound curves, and this one will do either compound or reverse curves, and a little bit later on we're going to take a look at that in one of the sections today. So what I'm going to do is going to go ahead and first trim this out. I'm going to get rid of the points in the middle, so I'm going to go into the trim command, and I'm going to select these two polylines and these two polylines. Those are going to be my boundaries and my cutting edges. Hit enter and select between. Just take out the pieces that I don't want. Be careful, you don't want to select an alignment. It probably wouldn't cut, but you want to be really careful with that. Okay, so that we have is like that. So if we go over to the southwest corner here, we notice we have a 60-foot radius curve, and this actually is a compound curve because we have a tangent leading into that 60-foot radius curve, and then we have this other offset curve here. So it's a tangent curve relationship, and there would be a tangent out here theoretically, which we don't have. Over here we have kind of a similar thing going on. We have a curve to a tangent. So we have compound curves here, and on the top sides we're going to have reverse curves, and this is somewhat common in a lot of intersections. So I'm going to go into the fillet command, typing in F, selecting my radius, R, and I'm going to do that southwest first. It's a 60-foot radius. Select the tangent, select the curve, and it brings it in. And that's generated a beautiful compound curve. The other thing it's done, which is really nice, is generated this as one polyline, so it joins them together. And Civil 3D at this point doesn't know anything about this being an alignment, nor does it know that it's a compound curve. So we're going to look at that when I show you the other aspect. We'll see how that works. We're going to go over here and do the same thing. We do have a radius change here. This radius is 25, so I'm going to go fillet, radius 25, select my arc, select my line, and again there's my tangent, or my compound curve built very nicely. We can come up to this side, do the same thing, just repeat the fillet. Radius is already set to 25. That's a 25-foot radius. Pick and go. And what we have here is now a reverse curve. The one curve going this way, the other going the other way. And remember, the radii are on opposite sides of a common tangent, which is somewhere around in here. And we're going to go another fillet, and I'm going to go to the radius this time and reset it. if I was thinking I could have done them the 60s all at one time and the 25s, and you just gotta kind of think about what you're doing sometimes. So it's as hard as that. When we get into this and we can see that what we have now are compound reverse curves developed. And again, Fillet can be a really wonderful tool for doing that. Um, and if you design this into a alignment, it'll actually recognize the fact that you have compound curves and it's stationing, which is also very nice in Civil 3D. So what I want to do now is set up right-of-way points, and you notice we have right-of-way points that start at 26 to the west, and they come over here 26, and we go over here to 14, 15, 16. So I'm going to go up into my points, and I'm going to set up a few things. What we're going to do is come over here. We're going to create points manually. Let me back out of there. I want to do something first. Go down to your O snaps down here. Right click on your O snaps and go to settings. And what we want to do is set endpoints and centers as our running O snaps and make sure everything else is off. Okay that. Also make sure your O snaps are turned on. It should be somewhat highlighted. Go over here to, again, back to that manual. And I'm going to set this up just a little bit differently. I'm going to go to the points creation. I think we did this last time. We're going to leave the elevations to none. Prompt form descriptions, we're going to set that to automatic. And what we're going to do is put in RW. And I'm using uppercase so that I'm going to have that reference that when I create a point group for that. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Actually, I can dismiss that a little bit. I'll leave that box out. So now I can come over here, pick my endpoint. It'll prompt me for a point number. I'm going to call that 26. Notice it says right away. Goes for the next one. Come over here. Make sure you hit the endpoint. That's 14. There's the center of my circle, which is 15 and 16. Okay, let's go ahead and complete the rest of those, and we'll catch up here in a minute. Alright, I have all of my points in. Hopefully you do too. You'll notice you got a lot of points there and a lot of mess, so we're going to fix that a little bit. First I'm going to go ahead and close this and get out of the point command. And notice blank, of course, needs to be updated, so I'm going to go ahead and update blank. And I'm going to generate a new point group that's going to include right away as its point grouping. So we're going to go to point groups, new, call it RW. And I'm going to give it, actually, I can use the basic style, but I'm just going to have it use the description on this one because I don't really necessarily need to see the point number, and plus it clutters it a little bit. I'm going to include all the points that have a raw description matching RW. Build the point list. You notice they're all in there. Nothing else can be in there. If they're not in there, it could be a case sensitivity issue. Remember, that's really important. And there you have it. Notice the points now have been rectified that way. They exist above the control group, so these two are showing up, but the all points are not. So in fact, if we actually change the hierarchy, I'll show you what will happen here. What we'll do is move the all points to the top and the control or the blank up between. You can notice, see the difference. They have the same symbols, but their labels are different. So you really can do a lot when you understand how this works, and it's really pretty simple process. So we're going to go ahead and put the blank down, leave it like that. So there we have our points. We have those all identified, and we've got good information. Now if we do some lists, first of all you'll see if I list this, I'm not sure this will list because this is a polyline. I think it has to be, oh it did, okay, so we're going to list that out, and notice it gave me information about the different aspects within that. So it actually is listing each curve separately, which is kind of nice within the polyline, so you don't have to actually explode it or anything, if that would be something that you weren't into doing. And you could list, of course, that one. That just gives me the tangent information. So the one thing that you won't have, though, is information associated with that being an actual compound curve or this being an actual reverse curve. So you don't get your point of compound curvature station, you don't get your long tangent, you don't get your short tangent. Now if we do define things as alignments, which we will here, I'll show you that that does pick that up, and that's actually a very, very nice feature. Now aside from listing, you've got tools here. We can do some nice things with labeling. So we're going to go over here to this tab called the Annotate tab. And under Annotate tab, all the different types of civil 3D objects that you have annotation tools for them. So you notice we've got surface, figure, parcel, different ones. And these are all based on styles, and the stylistic component of labels is very, very difficult at first, and once you start to work with them and understand them, you'll see that they're actually not quite as bad. If you're familiar with the multi-leader, a lot of them are going to function very similarly to that. But the beauty is it goes and gets all of your information and labels things very quickly. So what we're going to do is go to the alignment. Notice we have a lot of different types of alignment stationing or labeling that we can do. I'm going to do what's called a single segment first, and all I'm going to do is just pick this guy right here, and notice I get that nice segment label on this guy. I get a bearing and a distance. Now what's nice about these, you might think, well, that's kind of cramped and whatnot. The style again is set up a certain way, and you'll notice it's like 3 decimal places in the distance, and the angle is to decimal degrees. That can all be changed. You would have to fix that. But what I'm going to do is just click on this if I want to deal with placement. You'll notice that I get 2 grips associated with any type of label typically. One is the placement grip, and one is where you really kind of want to move it around. So it's placed right there. That's kind of like a slider. You notice I can kind of move it anywhere I want along the alignment. And it'll snap. If I've got O snaps on, it'll tend to want to snap, so I can just kind of do it like that. So I can kind of get it out of the way, or if it's over top. Notice it also has a mask, so it's masking out things behind it, which is kind of nice too. Now I can also grab this grip, and what this does is pulls it out like a true multi-leader. And you can see then what you've got is that kind of look to it. I can also then move it this way, so I can change things pretty readily. This is like a little thing you can put in a kink, and once you put a kink, I believe it'll develop more kinks for you. So they can get pretty complex. So that's that one, and this one will do kind of the same thing. It's just a bearing and distance on that segment, and it's kind of running like that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that, delete that. We're going to take a look at some more labels here. Alignment. This is a nice one here. It's called point of intersection. So if you have curves, you just select your alignment, and there it did my point of intersection for me. It's got that nice symbol like that, and it doesn't really label, although you could create it to have labels for you if you really wanted it to. And I'm going to look at this one called station offset fixed and station offset. Station offset fixed is really nice. I just pick the alignment I want to be stationing an offset from, and I can just pick a specific point that I want to be on, let's say that end point. And notice what it will do then is gives me the information. It harvested the alignment name, the station that I'm at, the offset, and the northing and easting information. And again, that can be pulled out like that. A little bit easier to see, probably better to reference. And then of course if you move this guy to a new location, he actually knows exactly what's going on, and so that updates for me. If you notice, that station is different than it was before. So that's pretty cool. Again, all of that stylistically created in terms of how the arrows will work and what kind of symbol you're getting here and what you're actually getting here. So you can change all that. Again, you've got to spend some time with labels, which we probably will not get into this time. The other routine that we have in there, alignment, station offset. This allows you to pick a location point along the station, and then the offset itself can be out here at a different value. And then again, you've got that. And notice that knows exactly what it's, as I float that around, you can see that my stations are and offsets are actually increasing and decreasing, so it's pretty cool. Points really do the same thing. For instance, we've got this control point 6. They have grip 2 that associated, and they will come out like that. So you can do a lot of different things. And again, all of this is controlled exactly by how the style is set up, and brings it back to um, how you want to deal with it. It's pretty difficult, some of it. So when you get into it, you'll see what I mean sometimes. Okay, if I wanted to label this alignment, I would just make him the active align label. So I'm going to go into a station and I'll set for this guy. Select the alignment. Select my point, and this would actually be what we call a node point for that guy. And I actually, sometimes they will give you two stations, one from this offset and one from this station offset. So if I wanted to do that, and that's very common on highways, especially when you have them things like this, of this nature. I'm going to go ahead and select this guy's alignment. Same point, but I'm going to use that node again. And I'm going to bring it down here, and what you see is those two things are related. That's exactly the same point, but it's different stations and different offsets from the respective alignments. But you should notice that the northing and eastings are exactly identical, which they should be. So if we zoom out, what we have really now is this completed drawing, and that's what we wanted to get into on that section of the lab. What I want you to do now is take out sheet 4, and we're going to take a look at some other alignment tools that we have.